Hi there, I'm Mike Gamble from Epic Games and we're here at the Make Something Unreal Live competition at the Gadget show live. This is the culmination of a competition run by ourselves, Epic, and Train2Game over 6 months, where teams of 10 students create games based on the Fighting Fantasy IP. We're here, we have 6 days left to go before they present to Ian Livingston and Steve Jackson to choose the winner, and the winners receive an iOS license from Epic Games.
We've got all our guys here together and we're working on everything around us. It's all coming together at once. We've got our developers over there knocking about, putting the code together and just kind of making our game sing and shine. We've got the artists down here who are building our lovely graphics and making our units shine and bringing the animation together. And we've got our designers behind us who are putting the levels together and making the game fun to play. One of the development lessons I've learned over the last several years is, as we design a game, sometimes we want to put in 10 to 20 features, and if we work on all of those features with a small team, we wind up with 10 or 20 features that are all at 10 or 15%, as opposed to 2 to 3 that are at 85 to 90%. So bestiary to me seems like one of those things you may want to focus on a little bit later, after just getting the core gameplay up and going and making sure that there's a really tight, kind of snug loop of the tower attack gameplay that you're working on with a little bit of polish there. Something to keep in mind. Going forward is just a brilliant preparation for work in the industry and taking our games just to the next level.
We chose Armies of Death as the IP that we wanted to work with. And therefore in our game, you will be playing as the zombie lord Aglax from the book. You'll be commanding your dark forces throughout the kingdom of Alancia, destroying the towns, the villages, wiping out their people, wreaking your vengeance. Now here we have how the game actually looks when you are playing. In the very bottom, we see the units. The units light up when they become available, because each unit costs souls. Souls are slowly incremented over time, but also dropped by enemies, which the player can then tap on the soul to pick it up.
What makes your game different to all the other tower defense games, and what will your business model be?
This is tower offense, so it's not simply defending your own tower. Rather, we're pushing beyond that, because we want to take the Armies of Death, and as Aglax, we want to make it more aggressive. Like you're pushing forward, attacking the enemy's tower, making your way up this town and village, trying to destroy it. You're leaving devastation behind you until you get to the tower, wipe it out, and that level's yours. You've taken it over. We're really pushing on the tower offense aspect.
The screen and the detail that's on the screen. You sure this is going to translate to iPhone?
Oh, we have
too much information there. For
we have been playing it on our iOS. Yeah, I have one. I don't have an iPad, so this is what I get to play it on. And trust me, I test it. I plan on testing my level, and then 10 minutes later I'm like, oh, I've been playing it. All I needed to see was if this worked, and I've tried to finish the level. So yeah, it works absolutely fine. We know for a fact it does.
Well, it's clear from talking to young people today that they're gaining skills both as individuals and as a team. And their employability, and that's what the Trust is very much involved in, must rocket through this process. In many ways, Train2Game echoes what the Trust does, because they're taking people forward with their lives. And they're giving them a fantastic opportunity, and that's what we try to do. And I'm amazed at the stuff that they do. It's fantastic.
What sort of stuff do you mean?
Well, just the whole concept of getting young people together as virtual teams to develop games. It's amazing.
Feeling pretty nervous right now. Also excited, but very nervous, as it's the final 2 days now of Gadget Show Live.
One minor thing is, and this is something I've learned myself over the years, so I'm still learning as I work through this, is when you present me with this cool looking environment and I have a sword and I'm ready to go and there's creatures, and then boom, wall of text. The first thing I'm gonna do is just be like, get that out of here. Like, I don't want to deal with that, right? Even just there's a reason why the Star Wars scroll worked, because it wasn't like there's a scroll going on in front of like a first person, you know, showing blasters and lightsabers, because it's like, hey, this is just an obstacle to get through to that. So consider presenting the fiction maybe in a slightly different way as opposed to the big brick, because I want to interact, I don't want to read, right?
Some very positive criticism. It has been quite brutal sometimes, but it's been worth taking on board. So, especially from John Hare, he shows no mercy.
Our game, Citadel of Chaos, Dire Consequences, puts the player into the first-person perspective, arms him with sword and magic, as he faces a horde of enemy waves. Now, when we thought about making this game from the very beginning, there were two key factors we had to bear in mind. We had to think this is going to be made for iOS mobile devices, and also it has to be in fitting with the Fighting Fantasy license. Now, a very key feature was to take a lot of characters from the book and flesh them out, make them feel our own, but also very representative of what they originally were. The way you'll navigate the screen is via a virtual analog stick in the left bottom hand corner. This is how you move. If you want to change your view, all you need to do is just take a little swipe anywhere on the screen. There are no buttons. Here you can clearly see an attack button, which can string together multiple variety of combos. Your defense button there can raise your shield and defend you temporarily from oncoming attacks.
I was actually here on Tuesday and saw what these guys had done originally. And can I just say, in 6 days, all of the teams have achieved something absolutely fantastic that some of these other guys in the professional studios, if you're listening, probably take about 18 months to do. So I really think they deserve a huge applause at the end of all of this.
Essentially, I'm here supporting what's actually happening behind the scenes with Train2Game. Train2Game aren't just about coming here and doing competitions. They do a program to develop gaming developers, basically, both in design, art and animation, and the game development itself. And we've worked with them and a team from there to develop a qualification that will support the experience that these young people are getting so that they can actually go out and get a job. It's industry backed, it's very solid, and the important thing for me and for City and Guilds is that we are able to take the experience element and a qualification element that will get them into the industry.
So in a nutshell, Train2Game are doing it properly.
That's what we believe.
Supporting them.
Absolutely.
Events left and there's events right, but our true focus is to make our game and make it epic, as the title suggests. I personally I'm fearing Digital Major at the moment right now. Their game is looking pretty good. You know, I don't think it's as pretty as our game, but for what the iOS market is, a nice casual experience, they've definitely achieved that. But I think with our game, we're hitting a new audience, or not a new audience, an already established audience, the Infinity Blade audience. We plan on delivering to them, making them want our game. And Infinity Blade made 2 million in sales in 11 days. We're going to make the same, or at least hopefully.
Especially in iOS, when you're tapping on a screen, you can never unfortunately assume with an iPad or with an iPhone that you have audio, because whenever I take my iPad anywhere, I almost never bring the headset, and so if I'm not gonna plug it in and do the super immersive gaming experience. I'm gonna fire the game up and maybe have a little bit of audio in the airplane or whatever, and then I have to rely on really obvious graphical feedback. So that's really cool that you do that.
I want to jump straight into the gameplay. This is what you want to see. This is what you want to see what we've been doing these past week. It's been super stressful. We've worked so very hard to make sure it feels right and engages with the audience, and simplicity was our main design. What I mean by this, I'm explaining to you right now. As you can see, a nice little seamless front end, so it gets you straight into gameplay. If you tap on the screen in front of you, you go that direction. That is how simple our gameplay is. You tap to go to that direction. We've got different kinds of orcs, different styles, different rankings. As you can see, the bone on his head, just to show a bit more a higher ranking as a tougher opponent. So it's actually do the same thing, but this time let's do a bit the multiple strike attack. This is to envelop the dice mechanic. Unfortunately, I've only got one attack then. You can go up to a maximum of 3 attacks, which is great. but if he does a free attack, it instantly kills them, so the player gets like this great sense of achievement, like, yeah. Because Peter Molyneux's son loved this mechanic. Lucas is like, oh, you could see his face twitching with excitement, which is what we wanted to achieve, and it worked.
I would say that this is consistency with the original adventure. The same characters, the same monsters. A lot of points in the adventure where you say, if you're playing on screen, I remember that from the book. And I'd like Johnny just to give us a few examples of this consistency with the book. And this is not just another dungeon adventure. This is Firetop Mountain. You will recognize it as a reader because of this, that, and the other.
Yeah, we've tried so very hard to make the actual rooms and the corridors identical to what's in the actual book. Obviously, we've got no visual representation, so we've had to go in from our own minds. But the actual layout, the structure, you walk up, you go in that exact room as you would in the book. We've actually put a bit of a twist on it as well, so the players feel a bit like, oh, I didn't know about this.
For me, anyway, going into the games industry, doing this amazing, incredible thing. You can have an idea, you can work on an idea in a small team of people, and that idea can go out and touch the whole world. That is insanely cool, man.
Absolutely,
just think of, just think of lying in bed one day and thinking of an idea, going with a team of people programming it, and then that, being played halfway around. What a more amazing thing can you do with your life?
The things that we've learned doing this competition and learning with the UDK, it's just been amazing. If we could rewind with what we know now, we could be twice as far in half the time. We're actually learning how to work under these sort of pressure constraints, hitting targets, hitting milestones, and I think it's an invaluable experience that's really going to help us in the future.
I like the cutscenes for the setups. It's very God of War. Kind of, I come into the room and then the camera swoops around and kind of shows me where some of the enemies are and so where some of the puzzles are. That was really good and that was really smart.
Now the battle mechanics in our game are really core. We've taken Fighting Fantasy franchise, the key thing from that, dice for combat. We want to try and implement this. As you see here, the enemy's threatening, trying to get the players, come on. All we've got to do is tap that player and our dice come up. We tap again. You see we have our skill, enemy skill, our skill, and these dice come down. The totals add up. Kind of that fruit machine, the tension builds.
In the books, everybody cheated. They said, oh, I didn't like that dice roll, we'll forget that. But here, you can't cheat, of course, so is that a good or a bad thing if you can't cheat?
Peter Molyneux brought up the exact same thing. And he was saying he would quite like to sort of just using the tilt mechanism, just sort of nudge it, to see whether you can get one of those dice to flip over, which again, with the new dice that we would love to introduce, there could be that option of having almost like a nudge on your dice. I think it'd be brilliant.
The winner today is Commando Kiwi. Step forward. Well done, everybody else, and do not lose heart. Ultimately, you could be the winning game. But today, Commando Kiwi was the winner.
It was a really hard decision because the four groups who had already passed through several barriers and mini competitions on the way here, they were all very talented, and the standard of games that came out were unbelievable. I mean, it would have been very easy to pick four winners out of the four of them.
Unreal!